Welcome to a meeting of Game Pass Anonymous. My name is Ren Reynolds, and I play Game Pass. This is a podcast where we have in-depth discussions of games currently on Microsoft's Xbox Game Pass. This week, we played A Plague Tale: Innocence, the 2019 stealth adventure game from Asobo Studio. Would anyone care to share?
Hi, I'm the Law Morris, and I'm a gamer.
Hi, I'm Dracos559, and I'm a gamer.
Hi, Dracos.
Hi, Dracos.
And I am Rakanai, and I don't know why I'm here still.
Hi, Rakanai.
Rakanai. Well,
You'll get there.
You play Game Pass, and that's why you're here.
I don't have a problem, damn it.
Admission is the first step in the road to redemption. Admitting you have a problem.
Exactly.
It's a good problem to have in these days.
I mean, honestly, yeah, it's
Definitely
pretty
not
good.
the worst.
Yep.
So, what did you guys think of this game so far?
I love it.
Yeah.
I really do.
Yeah, I was interested at first, and then into playing it, it exceeded my expectations and continues to, surprise me with stuff I never knew I wanted in the game.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
okay,
no, it's
elaborate.
It's cool. Yeah, but
Yeah.
you can please elaborate.
Yeah, I mean, just as you progress through the story, I started off as, I had seen, a little bit of the intro of just, it's, sister and brother, trying to survive in this plague-desolated wasteland with a bunch of people after them, and then it brings in, all these mechanics of, leveling up your character, upgrading your equipment, adding new companions, essentially, to your party, and, embarking on this larger adventure rather than just, girl and brother surviving.
Yeah,
It seems like it's not about the destination, but it's the
journey.
Adventure along the journey along the way.
The new characters coming in and playing their parts and then dipping out, I thought were really cool. And I don't know, I'm a big fan of Lucas. I like Lucas.
Lucas is
he was the apothecaries.
Yeah,
the apothecary,
right?
dude from-
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Lucas is fantastic.
yeah.
Who needs glasses? Did you guys find him the glasses? I found him the glasses.
I did not find his glasses.
I did not either.
I think I did find glasses, yeah.
We left them
Yeah,
behind.
there was just some glasses behind. She's like, "Oh, Lucas could use these."
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Nope, never found them.
Yeah. I'm a fan of the son of the blacksmith so far, especially because he has arguably the best ability.
Yeah. Self takedowns.
Oh yeah. Oh no, that guy is awesome. What's his name?
Yeah, we just
met him.
encountered
Yeah.
up to chapter 10. Yeah, we just encountered him.
Yeah, he's super cool, and I mean, I'm enjoying this game. Ben and I were talking about it before we recorded, and something that struck me, and this is gonna sound like I'm dogging on it. This is gonna sound like a bad thing, but I promise you it's not. It feels very YA, young adult. It feels like a young adult novel, in the sense that it's about kids. They seem to be the only ones that can overcome and are the heroes and the solution to this problem. And that's and the way that the characters are developing seems not super one-dimensional, but it has depth, but it's fairly digestible. And so, I mean, it's a pretty easy game to digest. And when I say YA, I know everyone's mind immediately jumps to Hunger Games, and that's not my intention, because I don't like those. I don't like Hunger Games, but I don't think that all YA is bad. I just think it's gotten a bad rep because of things like Hunger Games. But I definitely it feels like really good YA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting you bring that up, and like once you bring that up, looking at the game, it definitely is like, oh yeah, like no, I totally get how that fits. But it's interesting in that it doesn't feel like that at all, which I feel like a big part of that is they do a great job making very human characters rather than these kind of just like out there
templates.
Yeah.
And I think that's what good YA is like, and that's why I say, like, I promise this isn't me saying a bad thing about the game, because like there's this trilogy of books that came out in the 60s called the Tripods trilogy, and the first book is called The White Mountains, the second book is called The City of Golden Lead, and the third book is called The Pool of Fire. And like they are definitely YA. Ben, what are you doing?
Trying to be a tripod.
Ben's trying to be a tripod. His penis is too small. But like these books are absolutely YA, and I adored them when I was like 10 and 11. And I just had really fond memories of them. I recently, just a couple of months ago, reread them, and they are fantastic books. And so that's why, like, there is really good YA out there, and I would say that this is really good YA, but it's definitely YA.
Yeah. I think when it's really good YA, you just call it a coming of age story.
Yeah. Well, exactly. When it's really good YA, it's just not called YA, is it?
No.
How many more times can we say YA?
A lot. Well, should we just start saying
no.
But no, I'm really enjoying it in that, like, from that perspective. But
Yeah, no, it's a great game. I'm certainly enjoying it.
something that I'm really impressed with is, like, visually, it's really, really stunning.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, visually, I was not expecting as much as I have been given, and I'm very happy with what I have been given.
Yeah, that's the other impression I just keep getting from this game of, like, where in the world did this come from? Because, like, it definitely has, like, a huge level of polish you'd expect from, like, a really big release, but, like, it's such an interesting and unique topic that it's like, how did this get this funding?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So I read something that said that the people who made it were inspired by The Last of Us.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
I felt there was a lot of, like, similarities to The Last of Us in a lot of ways.
Absolutely. I felt like this game...
It's almost like you just only had, what's her name, the girl, whereas you, and a child, or other, it's never really someone who's as capable as
Joel.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, playing through it, it's like the inspiration and it's so obviously informed by The Last of Us. But at the same time, like, I don't have a problem with that.
No.
And I'm not saying, like, Ben, I know that you I don't think you were saying that you did. Because every great work of art draws inspiration from other art. And do I think that this game is going to be like a showstopper that we're still talking about in 15 years? No. But do I think The Last of Us will be? Yeah, definitely. But that's not, like... I guess I'm just having a lot of similar feelings about this game as I do about, like, Far Cry 5, which is a strange parallel to draw, because it's like, I really, really liked Far Cry 5, and I think a huge part of why I liked Far Cry 5 so much, and I've been very vocal about this, is just they played expectations very well. Like, they didn't set expectations astronomically high. They didn't promise you everything. They just said, yeah, it's a Far Cry game and it's going to be fun. And that's exactly what it was. And so coming off of it, I was like, yeah, I'm super happy with this game. I felt no level of disappointment. And I definitely feel the same way about Plague Tale. It's like, I had no expectations, and I am very, very pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, I didn't know anything about this game going into it, but like after playing it for a few hours, I was already hooked. And then the second time I went back to it, I just chugged through all the way through chapter 10. And I gotta say, I think where this game really shines, I don't think it's in the story, I don't think it's in the environment, I think it's in the puzzles. I really do.
Yeah. So like the things I had down that I wanted to talk about was the pacing, the storytelling, the puzzles, and the combat. And yeah, I really thought that the puzzles were a strength because they were cool, and it's cool how it threw those different things at you, and then it'll go back to something old that you haven't done in a while. And then certain ones are super complex, and some of them have been like pretty hard, and then other ones it seemed like are kind of easy, but are still time consuming because they're just like the one that I specifically remember feeling like it was just mostly time consuming, not that hard, was the rats in the courtyard at the castle.
That is my favorite puzzle that we've come across so far.
But I still enjoyed it despite it being mostly time consuming. I was like, this is so cool. Like,
Yeah.
That circular courtyard, being able to move through it using all you had learned up to that point to clear out the entirety of it was just phenomenal.
Yeah, there's something really fun about those like big uses the whole room monumental puzzles. And also just the fact of, like, being able to clear the entire courtyard of rats, that's super fulfilling. I know, semi-related to this, there was a part early on in the game, when you're in the castle and first encountering the rats, I discovered that if you force the rats into a corner and then came at them with a torch, you could, like, make them burst into flame and go away.
Oh, what?
Yep.
I spent an entirely unnecessary amount of time trying to clear those rooms from all of the rats at that point.
Ethan's like, no rats will live.
Tons of plague.
So Ethan's out there doing everyone a favor. Maybe we should put you on COVID-19. But just send Ethan out there with a torch. He'll fix it. No, so Ethan, you mentioned like the scale of the puzzles and how big they got. I think what really impresses me about the puzzles, and Tim, I totally agree with you that like the puzzles are awesome. What impresses me the most about the puzzles is not just the scale, but the scalability. As far as like the puzzles can be these awesome monumental, like the whole courtyard, but then at the same time they can also be like this one encounter of like, okay, I need to move across 20 feet and sneak past one guy, and that in itself can be a puzzle, and it can be one that I'm like actually having to think about, like, okay, what has the game taught me up to this point? What do I know? What tools do I have at my disposal? What do I need to craft? And how am I going to move past this? And it's not like there isn't always just one answer.
Yeah.
And
No. That's, yeah, like when we were coming out of the French camp, or no, the English camp, I just killed everybody.
oh, really?
Nice.
I was just like, fuck these guys, I'm going to kill them all. Because none of them have helmets. Or if they have helmets, now I have enough ways that I can get their helmets off. I'm going to kill them.
Their faces, so they have to take it off.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty neat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I was going to ask you guys, what did you think of the combat?
I thought it was cool.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic. I would say it's kind of also tying into the pacing of the game. It's wonderful how at the beginning of the game, like, your only option is to run away from people. And then as the game progresses, like, you don't suddenly become, like, a fucking Juggernaut Rambo because you're playing a very
14-year-old girl. Or like, I mean,
14-year-old girl.
how old is she? I think she's more like 17, but still.
something like that. Yeah, very young girl, and towards the end, like you become like both extremely capable, but you still stay extremely vulnerable at the same time. And the fact the game's able to maintain that balance is just incredible, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And the game progresses that, like, I mean,
It's all right. You can come.
I think that games, like, there are some games with level scaling where, like, as you level up, and this is mostly RPGs because of leveling systems, but, like, as you level up, the enemies scale with you, and I think that kind of ruins that sort of RPG experience as far as, like, that's kind of what's fun about an RPG is seeing an enemy that's way higher level than you and trying to push yourself to take it on. And then also, like, later on, going back to the areas where you used to be challenged and being able to just wreck house. But I think that level scaling is bad in games like that, in like RPGs, but I think it's incredibly good in games like this where it's like, it is story driven and they do want it to be a consistent challenge. And the fact that it's so subtle and it's so hard to notice and you don't notice it unless you're thinking about it is just, I think, indicative that it is really, really well done.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah. And yeah, I just think also it's just scaling done like the right way. It's not like, oh, I have 50% more health at the end of the game versus at the start of the game or whatever, or I can do, 10 extra damage as I level up. It's, you take the same amount of damage from start to end, or at least as far as we've played of. If anyone hits you, you're dead.
Yeah.
And it's not like you do any more damage. It's just you have so many more ways to approach combat.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that like one hit kill on you throughout the whole game, or at least as far as we've played, I think that's a very interesting artistic choice because it does make, like, if you are choosing to engage in combat, it makes every single time you choose to engage in combat very high stakes. And so, Ben,
yes,
like you said, you killed every guy on the way out of that village. I killed as few as possible because I did not want to take that chance.
Yeah.
I was just like, if more come, I've got the rocks.
I have a lot of rocks in my pockets, guys. We'll be fine.
Yep. Sometimes the best way to minimize risk is just to kill all the things causing risk.
Exactly.
So Ben is really more risk adverse than I am.
Yep.
Oh, that's pretty funny.
It's definitely. Well, and then, so what did you guys think of the storytelling? Like, I really liked the story. At first I was like, wait, is this like a real story? And then, like, all the, like, explosions started happening when we were running through the forest, and I was like, okay, no, this is not, like, the plague was not quite that intense. Like, obviously the plague was intense, but it was not like that. But despite it, it's got enough elements of, like, actual, like, reality, and then the crazy, like, kind of, I guess, fantasy stuff that it's just, it feels cool, and I really like the story. And, like, when she gets annoyed with the little kid, Hugo, I find myself that I'm like, yeah, I'm kind of annoyed with him too. It's like,
same girl.
Fucking Hugo, shut the fuck up, dude. Like,
Hugo, quit being a little bitch.
yeah,
You're 6. It's time to grow up.
exactly. Your mom and dad are
He's
dead.
practically
Get
a
over
man.
He's going to be a tripod soon.
Especially.
Yeah, well, that's and they got to get the shit out of his blood, I guess.
Well, the stuff, it's not literal shit in his blood. Unless maybe it is.
It could be.
I mean, very well could be at this point.
I mean, it is the
Still
plague.
don't know.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying the storytelling. I think the storytelling is good. I think the characters are all believable and fun and enjoyable. They all have their own redeeming qualities, while also none of them being flawless. Like, and I think that going back to the YA thing, I think that that's something that a lot of YA novels that's a trap that a lot of YA novels can fall into, is just making a perfect character, and that's not fun. And so, like, I mean, I've read the first Hunger Games book, and I do not like it. And a huge part of why I don't like it is because Katniss Everdeen is just such a boring character.
She's so hungry.
She's so hungry. Tim, what did you think of the story?
I think I mentioned it earlier, but story-wise, it hasn't really grabbed me. I'm honestly in it for the gameplay and the puzzles at this point. I couldn't care less what happens to Hugo. If he dies, then that just makes my job a hell of a lot easier.
Hugo dies, and Tim's just like, all right, I'm just going to do these puzzles.
Yep.
If you don't have the cure, then you can't save the world from coronavirus.
And that's one thing that worries me. We're halfway through this game-ish, and we still have no idea what the fuck we're doing in regards to a clue. A clue, yeah. A cure.
I mean,
yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, like, I'm kind of with you, because we have to go get this book.
We got the book.
And it's like...
We got the book, but now we have another half of the game. Like, what are we going to do with it? Are we going to find out actually what's in it, like, 2 chapters from the end? But, like, I don't know. It worries me that the ending might be a little bit rushed. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it could be. We'll see. Yeah.
And I also feel like there isn't a developed villain in the game. And so... And I don't think that...
I don't agree with that.
You don't feel... Yeah, I definitely don't either. What about the Chief Inquisitor?
Yeah.
The Grand
Inquisitor.
I guess that's accurate. I'm going to take back what I said. I was just being dumb.
As you do.
As I do. But no, I'm looking forward to seeing how the game ends. Like, I definitely am excited to finish it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's a lot of fun.
I did want to ask you guys, because we're playing this game at a very unique time.
Very topical.
Yeah. And so...
You gotta practice social distancing from the rats.
From the rats. The rats, by the way, the rats are awesome. Like,
so that's like the big... That's the big thing that they showed off with this is... Because it's like I can't remember exactly how many, but it's like something like 5 million rats on screen at a time potentially.
Jesus,
that the game can render.
The rats are really cool, and I think what makes the rats even cooler is that, like, it's not just immediately like, oh, if you touch the rats, you're dead, because that would be like, I mean, at that point they're just lava and it's Zelda.
Well, at first that's what it felt like, and then I realized that and at times it kind of is that. Yeah. But there are other times where it's like,
if there's a thin enough crowd and you run fast enough, you can, like, you'll get attacked, but you can make it.
Yep.
Which I think is really cool, because I can see I can see how the game designers would be tempted to just be like, oh yeah, if you touch the rats, you're dead.
Yeah.
That would be a much
easier.
Yeah, that would be a much easier design choice.
Shake them off without getting bit.
Yeah. Like,
I will say though, all the death animations are on point.
Oh,
every
yeah.
time she dies, it's like, all right.
When she gets eaten by the rats with her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, the visual presentation of this game is really good, and I think that something else that stood out to me is like, The Last of Us was praised for being like, the whole game is an escort mission that never feels like an escort mission, and this game does that really well, I feel like.
Yeah.
Because
although I will say that the parts that are not an escort mission I'm like, oh, thank God I don't have to deal with Hugo right here.
Ben just really hates that 6-year-old kid.
Yeah. See, I never really had much of an
said
issue
he
with
does
him.
too. I don't have an
Huh.
issue with it, but it's just like it's a lot easier when you don't have to worry about him too.
Huh.
It's just extra baggage.
Exactly.
I haven't really had a problem with him.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't really have a problem with him, but it's just nice when you don't have him.
He's
When he's in a cage.
he's useless Ellie.
Ben likes Hugo better when he's locked up in a cage. I think something really cool about the game is like every time I get a game over because Hugo gets caught, it's my fault.
Yeah.
It's because I told Hugo to go when it was the wrong time.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, he should have been faster on his fucking feet.
Hugo, you need to run like a fucking Olympian, okay?
Yeah. I guess, I must have had the least issue with Hugo, because I don't think I've ever had a game over due to him.
Oh, okay.
He's killed me quite a few times, and I'm
Huh.
quite salty about it.
Yeah, he's got
Are you,
me a
like,
couple of
leaving him
times.
behind at certain points or something?
Yes.
Sometimes,
I
yeah.
leave him behind at the very beginning of the level, go through it, and then I expect him to get through at the end.
All right. Hugo, you do this on your own, okay?
Yeah, this sounds like a you problem.
I don't want to deal with him, so he saves.
He's not
So
that
what
much
are-
of a problem
the-
if you just bring him with you.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Hugo, his veins look nasty.
Yeah. And that's getting increasingly worse. Like that's really cool art.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I joke.
Um,
I can't leave him at the beginning because he'll fail anyway. Just leave him behind for too long because he's his sister,
Yeah.
which is another pain in the fucking ass.
I just never leave him behind, like, anywhere.
so
I-
how about the first
Half
time
the
you
time
saw
I'll get up to a wall and he'll be
Yeah,
sticking out and get seen, and it's just like, come on.
I just keep him with me most of the time, honestly.
Yeah.
When I can, like if he's not in the level, I love the level, but when he's in the level, I just try to keep him with me.
Yeah.
For the most part, I try and keep him with me, but I do enjoy the parts where the game forces you to like order him to places and be like, Hugo, go do this. Like that's
that puzzle where you like the guy's like was he chopping wood or something, and you had to like hit the scarecrow with the thing, send Hugo through the window, or not through the window or something to open the door or something.
yeah.
Through like a
Yeah,
crawl
and-
space to open.
Yeah, that one was
Yeah.
a little bit difficult. I was like, oh fuck, this is a little harder than a lot of these have been so far. And then it was just one of those things where I was like, okay, it's stepping up the difficulty.
Yeah, the aqueduct section where you had to send Hugo all over the place to get torches and whatnot. I struggled with that for a bit of time, mainly just because of bad timing on my part. But
Yeah, it seemed like a lot of my issues on things where I struggled, it was issues just with my timing, not like issues with like figuring out what to do.
Yeah.
Did you guys ever have to use the guide?
nope,
A couple times.
No.
I don't think
had
I
to use
did
the guide
either.
yet.
I don't even
Yeah.
remember exactly what I did, but there was one time, like I think that I definitely did.
There were a couple times where I was about to, but then I like saw, oh, I'm stupid. I just need to break that chain.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
think the closest I ever came to a guide, which I think is like my biggest issue with the game so far, is it is stingy as hell with toolkits. And so
Yeah,
I
yeah,
was
that-
going through, especially like the first third, I'm like, I can't even hold all the resources I'm supposed to get, but the game hasn't given me a toolkit yet. Like, am I missing them or what?
Oh, really? I
Yeah.
haven't had that issue.
Huh. Alright.
I've just
Uh,
thought that the upgrades came pretty slowly and were pretty well spaced out throughout the game.
Yeah.
So what was your guys' favorite chapter?
The one without Hugo.
So chapter 10.
No. Go ahead, Tim.
Honestly, I think it was chapter 7. That huge courtyard, that puzzle was just so much fun. That entire thing of entering the castle. Like, I think that was definitely my favorite part of the game so far.
And that also included my favorite visual I guess my favorite visual was I think either right before or right after that, because that right when you saw the chateau in the lightning storm for the first time.
Yep.
That I was like, oh wow, that's pretty epic.
Yeah.
Like,
that was also a chapter with I think one of my favorite story reveals of like started this game off as like, oh, it's little kid and sister trying to survive Plague Tale, and then it's like, oh, look at all this shit someone built like hundreds of years ago, specifically designed to deal with this plague. Like, what's going on in the larger scheme of things?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, definitely like makes you think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was probably my favorite chapter too.
Yeah.
Either that
or the Aki deck.
Yeah.
Yeah, stupid Hugo.
Oh, I love that. That was cute as hell.
Pat, yeah, sorry, we didn't hear yours.
I really liked the chapter where you go to the alchemist and you meet Lucas, because like I loved Hugo being like, oh look, a pig, and like talking to the pig, and then you feed the pig to the rats. And he's like, what are you doing? And she's like, shh, Hugo, we have to.
Why do you love traumatizing children,
I just thought that like that was one of those moments where I was like, okay, and I keep going back to the YA thing because that's really what hit me with this game. But I was like, okay, this is good YA, because it's like, they're not like hitting us over the head with like, this is brutal and cruel, but they are like forcing the audience to witness these pretty rough moments. And I was like, that was a pretty cool moment. I really enjoyed that chapter, but like specifically that moment.
How about that moment where there's the soldier who's just at the other end of that cage and you just have to walk down with the torch, push the rats onto him?
So harsh. Yeah.
I think the one that was worse is when you're climbing through that house and you have that guy at the window and you keep pushing the rats towards him.
Oh, yeah. That was a good one too. And I just love that, like, I love breaking a lantern and just watching the rats rush on the guys.
Yeah. That is always hilarious.
Super cruel but satisfying.
Absolutely.
Going back a little bit, the one minor issue I had with the part where you're pushing the rats towards the guy at the end of that hallway is like, I did this. If you rush fast enough, you can like get to the rats right as they're getting on him, but he just gets like instantly killed as soon as they touch him.
Oh,
like,
really?
He's fine. Like, he barely got touched. He's just keeled over.
See, I was like, oh, there's no saving him, and I just walked right out the door. I was like, I don't care.
Yeah, that's what I did the same.
Bye, No Name.
Yep.
Goodbye, person that I'm never going to think about.
Fair.
So what was your least favorite chapter? Probably 8, because it was like nothing happened in 8 really. You just like
8 was super short.
Yeah.
Which one was 8 again?
The
really short one after the puzzle where you just like wake up in the chateau and it's sunny.
Yeah.
Castle in the daytime.
And you explore. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that was my least favorite. There were a few nice little story points there. Personally, for me, it was the aqueduct, and that was just because I struggled so much with that area.
I kind of agree with you, Tim, but just because I felt like that one got a little long in the tooth. I just felt like it was the same puzzle over and over again.
Yeah. I could see that. Yeah, that's a hard one.
But also... sorry, Ethan. I was just going to say, also, at that point, I had been playing for like 3.5 hours, so maybe that had something to do with it.
Yeah, that's a hard one. I didn't have an issue with 8 because then I'm like, oh, now you're introducing like a hub world? Like, didn't expect that, but I'm okay with it, game.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I guess if I had to pick one, I think I'd agree on the Aqueduct. As cute as that was, just because the environments just were very similar. Of it's like, yay, more desolated battlefield. And yeah, like it was really cool at first, but it was definitely a thing of like the other levels had much greater diversity in environments, even within a level, that this one was just like, eh. But yeah, not to say I didn't like it.
Yeah, I mean, it being the weakest chapter in what is such a strong game is not a bad thing. It's just like you're the weakest amongst a lot of really high performers.
Yeah,
Exactly.
agreed.
All right, so midway score from everyone.
8.5 out of 10 so far.
Whoa. Ethan?
Yeah, that's surprising. I was thinking you were gonna do lower, because I think 8.5 as well.
Wow.
All right. Patrick?
Ethan, were you going to explain a little bit, or?
Yeah, I guess the only thing I'd keep it away from like a 9 or a 10 is I do have some concerns of like how exactly the story's gonna wrap up. And just I do think this is probably gonna be one of my like top games of the year, but I don't think it's gonna be a like top game of the decade.
Oh, wow. Okay. I'm coming in a little bit lower than you guys. I'm at like 7.5. Like, I'm really enjoying it, but it's not like just jaw dropping to me yet. But I'm definitely invested, and I'm definitely at that point where I'm like, I really want to see how this ends, and I'm really enjoying this. I would say it's really good.
I will jump on the bandwagon and go with 8.5 as well.
Wow.
I'm enjoying the game. It's very pretty. There are some gameplay issues and like gameplay mechanics that I don't find to be perfect. But yeah, it's a really fun little game that I don't know that it was at $60 when it came out even.
I don't think so.
I feel like it was more like 40 or something like that.
Like that's one of the most surprising things about this game is like it's just
that's kind of insane.
Everything they did, and it's just such a pleasant surprise.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah. No, I definitely feel like this game fits the criteria for Hinge.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, well, thanks for joining us for this meeting of Game Pass Anonymous, and if you like what you've heard, be sure to rate and subscribe. Join us next week when we'll be wrapping up the
Plague
Tale in a sense. Be sure to check out our other podcasts, HardReset and NoRefunds, and make sure to check out ColdNorthPro.com, where you can see everything we do all in one place. See you next week.